All right, back in the studio for the first official MMA podcast. I think we're going to call it MMA Fools. It's me and Kyle talking about upcoming fights and past fights and any news that we know or have heard. Honestly, I took too long to get this editing done, so this is going to be behind. Some fights we talked about already happened. I just got really caught up with the new bartending gigs, and it was just too tough for me to get everything done. So I'm sorry for the lateness. From now on, I'm actually just going to edit these podcasts right after I record them. So without further ado, here's MMA Fools with me and Kyle. All right, back in the studio for an MMA podcast. We just did a restart because we had some headphone issues.
Technical difficulty.
Yeah, but what I was talking about was we need to come up with a name for our MMA podcast, and also, if you're down with it, I was actually thinking about doing it instead of once a month, twice a month.
Yeah, because there's so much.
There's too much happening, even in just the UFC, to do just.
I was looking at the schedule and I was like, man, we're gonna be talking about stuff that was 4 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and 4 weeks out. And,
right.
And while we're talking about stuff that's a weekend away and the last weekend.
Right.
Yeah. So
my thought process was we do middle of the month and end of the month.
Yeah.
Does that work for you?
Yeah, unless we could always squeeze in a special one if it's a big thing, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
If it's a milestone event, we want to do it maybe even the night before and the night after one of those.
Yeah. I completely agree with that. What I mean by that is I'm saying at a minimum we do two a week or two a month. Yeah. Does that work for you?
Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. And then what do you think about the name?
Yeah, I haven't even thought of it. Yeah. I figured you were going to throw one at me and I'd be like,
yeah, no, I was thinking like MMA Fools, MMA Foolery, just because, gathering of fools, something to that extent.
Branch it off of that.
Yeah. I should also say real quick, we have a new guy behind the scenes, Sean McKittrick. Just go ahead and give a yell out real quick. Say what's up.
What's up?
He's a little shy to be on the mic right now. But Sean's going to come on. He's hopefully going to help us behind the scenes some. Sean, do you have any ideas for what an MMA show should be called? He didn't want to talk at all, and I'm hitting him right at the beginning. All right, if he comes up with one, he'll let us know.
Just scream it out. In the middle.
Yeah, just in the middle of conversation, just be like, I got it. All right, so we'll come up with a name. We'll figure it out, hopefully, before I post this.
Yeah, I'll brainstorm on it.
Yeah, but we have a lot to cover from the last time we talked. Yeah. Which is one of the reasons we both agree that we should do it more often.
Yeah, it was right before Cowboy Conner, right?
Yeah,
about
right before. Yeah. One thing I do want to tell you before we get into it, so I always watch the fights with Carl, and so I was at his house. Afterwards, we got into some whiskey, and I decided,
as you do,
as I do, and I will not drive if I can't drive. Yeah. But I also can't stay somewhere, so I'll walk. And you know where Brian lives?
No,
Carl.
Yeah.
So
Brian.
The Steubenville Speedway.
Yeah.
Not the downtown, the one.
The Midtown.
Lafayette.
I call it. Yeah.
So I started walking back from there.
Yeah, it's a couple hours. Well, probably an hour and a half walk.
At least,
so,
yeah, hour and a half, 2 hours. And midway through the walk, because it was a little cold, I took some Jameson with me in my pocket just in case I had to warm up. But I decided, we're going to make it a social experiment, and I put the thumb out and started hitchhiking. Yeah. And I did actually have a guy pick me up. Yeah. I think the only reason he did is because he was from...
Was it scarier for you or for him?
Probably for him. But he was from Nebraska. I think he just recently moved to this area from Nebraska. He's with the gas and oil. Oh. And I think it's the only reason he picked me up. And then I told him, hey, I was going to walk home and I decided to run a social experiment because my dad, when he was younger, hitchhiked across the United States. And I was like, oh, I can hitchhike across Steubenville.
Yeah, across town.
Yeah. So
like my dad.
Yeah. So I told him I was kind of running as a social experiment, and I asked him why he even picked me up, and he said, well, because I figure if I was ever, because it was pretty cold that night. He said, if I was ever in a bad situation, I'd really hope somebody would pick me up.
Yeah, of course.
And then he was taking his recycling for whatever reason at 4 a.m, and I helped him unload his recycling. We talked more. Good guy. I had him drop me off at McDonald's in Wintersville instead of all the way home because I was like, you know what? That worked out so well. Let me see if I can get another person. Yeah. And I did not get another person. I did end up going into Quick King. They let me in a little bit early and let me get some food, and then I walked home. And because they let me in a little bit early, my car was here. I was driving Tommy Two Phone's car, so I came down here, got my car, went back up, and tipped them both $10 for letting me in early.
There you go.
Yeah.
I pick up hitchhikers. I do it all the time, man. I mean, probably against my own safety, but
people say that, but I feel like
never bothers me.
I feel like serial killers aren't actually out there hitchhiking across the road. I feel like they're more likely to actually be the person you pick up.
Yeah. They might be on their way to go kill somebody, but they're not going to kill the guy who gave them the ride.
Right.
But no, one day I pick up a hitchhiker and he starts talking about there was a hitchhiker guy killing people, and I'm like, why would you talk about that, Rick?
Right.
Like, why even bring that up?
You don't think this is the most awkward time to bring this up?
Are you trying to alleviate the stress, or are you trying to create some
decent conversation?
It did both.
But so the guy's name was Greg. Shout out to Greg. And I told him, hey, I bartend at Manfred's now, so if you want to come in, I'll buy you a drink. And he came in, and he might actually come on the podcast just to talk about his experience picking up some random guy with a bottle of Jameson in his hoodie.
That's a podcast. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I figured that might be a good little half-hour snippet.
Yeah. Yeah. A guy gave me a lighter once that, he gave me a new Zippo or something for giving him a ride, and I think he had just previously stolen it from the store or something. But
right.
He's like, here, as a thank you, you can have this lighter.
Yeah, I could have offered the guy the rest of my bottle of Jameson, but that seemed like a bad idea at the time.
Yeah, he was driving.
Yeah. But all right, let's go ahead and get into MMA, and I think the first thing we have to talk about was the exciting fight that a lot of people were pissed about, Conor McGregor versus Cowboy.
Yeah. Why would people be mad? Well, a lot of there's this is the thing whenever a fight like that happens in Conor. Conor gets a lot of eyes from random people that aren't normally MMA fans. So
right.
You get a huge discrepancy in what people are saying. It's the MMA community saying one, for instance, the thing with Stephen A. Smith, you got him jawing about it.
Yeah.
And then the MMA community has, they're firing back at him because he's not normally, a guy that would talk about MMA, so he says some things that don't really jive with what the community thinks,
Even I wouldn't even say just jive. I mean, just the fact that you just say Cowboy just quit. He doesn't know who Cowboy is.
You can't. Yeah, anybody that was what really made me really angry. I'm a Conor fan. I'm rooting for the Conor story to come back and redeem himself. And for people to come out and say that Cowboy quit or gave up is just like, man, you don't know shit. You don't know what you're talking about. That's just not who Cowboy is. He's earned the right to not have those things said about him,
He has more than earned the right. He's probably fought more in the UFC than most UFC fighters, and he did it in a shorter amount of time.
Yeah.
He literally, for a long stretch, was doing 4 or 5 fights a year when most people do
I think he
maybe
had 6
2
fights in a year a couple times.
Yeah, which most people maybe do 2 fights a year.
Yeah.
This guy loves to fight.
Yeah.
And
to his own detriment sometimes. Sometimes I think he's taken those number 1 contender fights or championship fights too soon when he probably needed 3 and 4 months to heal before he should even took the fight.
Absolutely. He literally, to his own detriment, I completely agree with that. He will win a fight, and then a fight opens up that will boost him up, and he just takes it. And they're like, hey, it's only 3 weeks notice, I know, but do you want it? And he's like, yep.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I'll be there. Well, I have a bull riding thing the day before, but I'll be there.
I have to do a triple backflip on my motorcycle before that, and then I'll be in the cage.
I'm jumping out of a plane with no parachute at noon, but I'll be there.
If anybody knew anything about Cowboy, they know for sure that dude has no quit in him.
No.
Now, what I'll say about that fight is we saw something that to my knowledge, we've never seen. Impactful shoulder strikes.
Yeah.
Like
it caught him way off guard too. Like
it caught me off guard.
Yeah.
Just watching it. Literally,
excuse me.
We've seen the shoulder little bumps through all of MMA history, but they're literally just like little points.
Cowboy's a little taller, and Conor used that to his advantage. Was able to like get some jump at him. You know what I mean, jumped straight into his face.
He literally crouched his head down into his chest and then leapt up.
Yeah.
And I made them actually rewind the fight immediately after that. Before we even heard the post-fight speeches, I made them rewind it because you could hear the impact of the shoulder to his face.
Yeah,
I mean, it was smacking loud.
And I mean, his eye was swollen up immediately from him. Like they did damage. They surely did. Like,
it for sure broke his nose, is what I felt like.
Yeah.
And the initial reports were that it broke his nose and his orbital, but then apparently Donald Cerrone came out and said that was not true.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know that he said it wasn't true, but I had heard that his orbital had been broken or something.
That's what I had heard as well. And regardless of whether actual breakage was true, they were extremely impactful, and we have never seen that in MMA. It's just another way of Conor figuring something out that nobody else has done before.
Yeah.
Because I've never seen it. Have you ever seen it?
No, not to that degree. I mean, yeah, like Jones has done it before a little bit. But not really done any damage. More to just throw a guy off his game and
get a point or two,
get him off of him or whatever. But yeah, these actually did damage. Conor just he came with a flurry at him. Cowboy was not prepared for that. I don't know if Cowboy may have thought we're gonna have like a friendly contest here. And Conor was like, dude, I'm just gonna run right through you.
Like, run right through you, and that's exactly what he did. The craziest part to me isn't the fact that it was 40 seconds. It's the fact that Donald Cerrone didn't throw a single punch and only got to throw one kick.
Yeah, I mean he didn't. Not that he was timid or he really didn't have a chance.
He had no chance.
He had no. Yeah.
The only break they had, he threw a head kick. Conor blocked it. And then it was over.
Conor ran straight at him, and he tried to Jorge
Masvidal him.
He tried to Masvidal him. Yeah. But he kind of like it hit a little bit. I think his thigh hit him a little bit, so there was some impact, but it wasn't enough to hurt him. But it certainly like threw him backwards, and then it was
just put him on his heels off the bat.
Yeah.
To me, it was an extremely impressive win. Even though I think we both expected him. If he didn't run right through Cowboy, then he's not the Conor he used to be, is what I think we both said.
But it's weird because it's like, it says a lot, but it doesn't, like Stephen A. I get where Stephen A. was coming from when he said we didn't learn a damn thing, because I get what he's saying. But no, we did learn that Conor, is taking this seriously again, and learn that, the cage rust wasn't a factor. And
that maybe he was more focused.
Yeah, but we didn't get to see cardio. There's those questions that we have about Conor are still unanswered.
I completely agree with that, especially the cardio, especially at 170. But where I disagree with him, again, is with Donald quitting, because Absolutely. I don't think either of us expected a 40-second knockout of Donald Cerrone. That doesn't happen. Donald Cerrone not throwing a punch does not happen. No. He normally is at least in the fight for the first round. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he got bum rushed, wasn't ready for it. Because honestly, let's think about it. Honestly, Conor McGregor normally does take a more. He doesn't wait like Anderson Silva, but he does wait back a little bit and pick his punches.
He does get your timing and stuff before he starts coming at you.
Yeah, he picks his punches, and this time he did not. He was like, "I'm out here to show that I am back, and I'm here to do something."
And as he should, I think anybody should really know that. Except for people that hate Conor, anybody should know that he's head and shoulders above that. Like, he's in an elite level. Whether, he's going to get mauled by Khabib or not, there's still, like, Khabib, Conor, Ferguson, and everybody else.
Yeah. He's still, where he runs into problems with Khabib is probably his wrestling. But he is an absolute elite striker with maybe the most deadly left hand in MMA history.
Sure. Certainly.
I mean, when he hit Dustin Poirier, it looked like he nicked him, and Dustin Poirier just fell on his face.
I'd like to see that fight again, just because Poirier. I mean, he's big now.
Yeah.
I'd like to see it.
I would like to see that as well.
I'd like to see Conor fight everybody, really.
Right, just anybody and everybody. I'll watch it.
Yeah.
Where I do have a problem with Conor afterwards is he either needs to pick welterweight or pick a lightweight, and he's calling out lightweights, but at 170. He's like, Justin Gaethje, come fight me.
He wants to fight him at 170 and earn the credit for 155. I don't get it either. And I mean, honestly, I think the smartest path for Conor should be you should go fight Gaethje, because for one, the champ. Khabib and is scheduled to fight Ferguson, right?
Right. So he's got to have a fight in between regardless.
And that's not for quite a while now. And then, after that fight, who knows how that fight goes? Maybe they both are laid up for 6 months. What's Conor supposed to take another year off? Like, he needs to fight in between there.
Yeah.
And Gaethje, I think, is the perfect middle ground to be, to test yourself to see if you're ready to fight Khabib, because Gaethje does have a decent wrestling pedigree.
He's got great wrestling pedigree.
He's probably going to stand and strike with him, but
yeah,
he can wrestle. So Conor, in the back of his mind, still has to worry about getting taken down and all that. So, like, if you can go in there and put up a great fight with Gaethje, well, that was the stepping stone. It's time to test it against Khabib again.
Yeah, and let's be honest, at lightweight, besides fighting the champion, Eddie Alvarez at the time, he hasn't really been tested at lightweight anyway. So you should have to fight a Gaethje, and Gaethje is to me the best option. Or if you want to stay at welterweight, then you should have immediately attacked that Jorge Masvidal fight. If you wanted to stay at welterweight, that's the money fight,
right? If you're and you need to have done it before he fights Usman, because I think Usman just mauls everybody. Like,
I think there's a good possibility. As much as I do, I understand that Jorge Masvidal is hype because we've talked about it.
He deserves it.
He deserves the hype. He's been fighting a long time, but at the same time, he knocked out Till, who's been having his own issues, and then he knocked out Ben Askren, which
it's a right fight, right time, all that stuff. The same with, the argument can be made with Conor and Eddie. Maybe if anybody else had been champion at lightweight, maybe that doesn't go so well for Conor. He stepped in at the right time. I think he would have beat
Dos Anjos.
Yeah, I think he would have beat him too.
Yeah, I think he would have too. But where were we at? Eddie Alvarez. Oh man, Masvidal. Oh, Masvidal. We both agree that Ben Askren. We both said it. That was a nothing fight. Like, we never saw Ben Askren coming into the UFC and being a monster like some people thought he was going to be.
No,
he has zero striking. He has no striking. You can be a great wrestler in these other promotions and do well. You cannot just be a great wrestler with zero striking.
I wasn't rooting against the guy, but it was like people wanted to anoint him, and I'm like, let's see how he does before we start throwing him in them top three, because, like, as far as I know, he's just a really good wrestler.
Right. And I will say this for Ben Askren, since he's retired and even since coming into the UFC and having that limelight on him, I love the guy on a personality level.
Yeah, he's great.
He's hilarious.
And that's what that's kind of like was a lot of the driving force behind the Askren hype, is people just liked his personality and liked how he got under people's skin and stuff.
Yeah.
So people wanted to root for that guy.
And he really is. He's just so fucking hilarious.
It's funny though, because Askren would get under Usman's skin, and now looking at it, I'm like, Usman would have mauled you, dude. Like, I don't think anybody's beating Usman. He's scary to me.
Yeah, to me, it's such a question. I feel like people really need to attack his legs, because it's a well-known fact that he has bad knees. Like, he can't do a lot of cardio, which is crazy because he has supreme cardio.
Yeah, leg kicks, man. That's the way to get him, I guess.
I would just kick him in his knees all day long. Yeah. May sound shady, but
you're probably you're gonna kick his leg, and he's probably gonna take you down, and then you're down for the rest of the round.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah. I didn't even think to ask, Sean. You're picking up both our voices on the wavelengths there. All right, good deal. But yeah, that's. I definitely think Conor should fight Gaethje.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any way around that. From that same card, we saw Holly Holm fight. I'm not even really going to get into who she fought, but Holly Holm, definitely end of her career, right? Like, she's got some big wins under her belt in the UFC. She will go down as one of the best women of all time, but It seems
I just
like
don't know where she goes. You know, like, it depends on what she wants. You know, if she wants to stick around and fight, you know, fine. But it seems like she's gonna be the gatekeeper forever if she sticks around. Like, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's great. Like, if you can beat Holly Holm, then you deserve to go fight for a title. If you can't beat Holly Holm, then you don't. You know?
You don't deserve to be there. Yeah.
So if she wants to stick around and play that role, then you know that's
then
cool.
great.
I have a lot. I like Holly. You know, she's a good fighter, and
I have the utmost respect for her because she was the first person to expose what I said for a very long time. I can't remember if you agreed or not, but I said the second somebody figures out how to make Ronda Rousey stand with them, she's done. Because her stand-up, if you were watching those fights, they all played into her game. They tried to bum rush her or they got too close. But if you stood on the outside, her stand-up was always awful.
I didn't know much about Holly going into that fight. I just hadn't.
She's a boxing champion.
Yeah, I didn't pay much attention to women's MMA at the time, other than Ronda was running through them all. But I kind of knew it was amateur style, you know. And had I known who Holly was going into that fight, I would be like, oh, yeah, she's going to knock her head off. But I just didn't know much about her.
I wish I would have bet money on that fight. I really do.
Yeah. Oh, man, the return on that was probably huge.
Huge. And it was one that I was calling. I said, listen, this is a big danger factor for Ronda because her stand-up is terrible.
MMA has some of the best opportunities to make a lot of money on some of them fights because, like, people, like, it's the most susceptible to hype. Where people just all the money goes on this person that like is just hype, and there's somebody when you really know the game, you're like, man, this person's gonna kill him, and like the numbers are way off. It presents a lot of opportunities for smart bets.
I always think that I should bet on fights and just find the underdogs. I'm like, this person has a high chance of winning. They may not, and I may lose that money, but
it's a good bet.
The chance of the profit is astronomical. Because also, on the flip side, betting on the winner, on the predicted winner, wins you zero money. Yeah. You win nothing. Like you bet $5 and win $1.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's not worth it.
I was thinking about that before though. Like how much would it pay out to just always bet on the favorite? Like, would you if you just mathematically like figured that out over 10 years, like if you just always bet on the favorite, would you come out ahead? Like,
well, you would think that, but then how many times do we see the favorite lose?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Lose big on this.
Yeah. You're losing $45 to win 10.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Keep the bets low. You know what I mean? Maybe you would.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I think the way to make money from that is from that. We got sidetracked from Holly Holm, but I agree with you. Yeah. She's the gatekeeper.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. I don't think she's ever going to beat Nunez. No. I don't think she's going to go up a weight class and beat the people there.
And she can't go to 125.
She can't go down. And if she does, she's going to beat Shevchenko.
The most skilled female fighter in the world.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think she is the most skilled.
Yeah, she's lightning fast, dude. Like it's ridiculous. Like,
lightning fast, and I actually think this last fight she had was, which we're going to get into later, but I actually think the last fight she had didn't really show her true skill set. She looked a little stiff in that fight. Yeah. She didn't look as loose as she normally does.
She didn't need to be, though.
No, it didn't matter. Even though that girl was the number one contender, it doesn't matter. She's that good.
She's head and shoulders above them all.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then I think the same fight card, along the same path, Anthony Pettis.
Yeah. I mean, the guy he fought has a pretty good little resume, win streak under his belt, but yeah, Pettis, man, just can't catch a break. Like I think he's a great fighter. Like it's like sometimes it's just like the ball don't bounce your way with him, you know. Like he's right there on the edge of some of like I thought the Ferguson fight he was doing really well. Like
he was,
and yeah, I mean to be doing well against Ferguson that says a lot. And then he moves up and starches Wonder Boy, you know, like that's a big deal.
Yeah, that's a huge deal. Starching Wonder Boy. Yeah. I mean, Tyron Woodley could barely have a fight with him. You know what I mean?
So Pettis is a wild card, you know. You never know.
He's a wild card, but I just don't see him getting to the true upper echelon again. No. I don't know what it's
getting too late. I mean, how old is he now?
I'm not sure how old he is. Sean, can you look that up for us? How old is Anthony Pettis? He has this crazy wild striking. he showed us the ground game by submitting somebody recently, but for some reason, when he gets to the upper echelon, he just can't handle it anymore. Yeah. And maybe we were all too hype on 33. Yeah, he's up there.
He's been fighting a long time, though. That's the thing in MMA. So, I mean, some guys are just coming in at 30, and they got a little while left, or so. Like Pettis, I think, has been around since he was like 19 years old. Like,
yeah. That's what I'm hoping. I'm going to enter at 38, and I'll be okay because I just entered.
Yeah. You'll still be fast.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's unfortunate for Pettis. He had so much hype coming around him, especially after that flashy kick in the Benson Henderson fight out of
which wasn't even
WEC.
A knockout.
Everybody
always thinks it's a knockout.
Everybody always thinks he knocked him out. He definitely did not. I just wanted to touch on him because I just think he's a flashy fighter that for some reason has just never been able to get it together.
Yeah.
Unfortunate. And then from the recent fight, I'm actually going to start the opposite way. I'm going to start with below, not the headliners. Derek Lewis. I don't really care who he fought. What was surprising to me was how good his kicks were. He's always thrown some kicks here and there, but they actually looked good in this fight.
Yeah, well, and you look at a big man like him and think like that's his game. He's gonna try to club your head off, but he's actually trying to evolve. And like I think if he keeps that up, he can be a top 5 guy for a long time. Like if he can develop those kicks and stuff. It's really surprising to see him do that, but yeah, he amazes me every time. Like just the steps he takes, because you don't think that guy's gonna do that. You think he is what he is, and it's all he's ever going to be, but he proves you wrong every time.
I remember the first fight I ever saw with him, and I can't remember what event it was, but I remember the fight, and I think it was on one of the Ultimate Fighters. I think it was one of their finales. And he literally was just walking forward, just throwing haymakers, basically. You know what I mean? Just like a zombie almost.
Yep.
And to see his evolution and how far he's come, especially in this fight. He's always thrown a kick here or there, but it didn't look great. It didn't look like it was really truly set up. He just like, I need to throw kicks sometimes. I know that.
Yeah.
This one, it looked like he was really ready. He threw a flying knee.
Yeah, I think he tried it twice.
Unbelievable. I think he keeps getting better. He actually looked a lot leaner in this fight than he ever did.
He got thrown though. That might throw him off. He might be like, "Man, I ain't getting thrown anymore. I'm gonna put the weight back on."
Yeah,
and like getting tossed.
But that guy that he was fighting, what was his name? Like Latifi or something like that. Latifi.
I thought he did well.
He did very well. And
the argument that he might have won the fight.
Definite argument that he could have won the fight. But that guy is also, just looking at him, he looks like a little tank.
Yeah,
he looks like he's got a center of gravity that is perfect for throwing anybody around. But I was just very impressed, especially coming from like fights like the Ngannou fight, where apparently he has all these back issues, and he couldn't really move around the way he wanted to. And for him to just be throwing those kicks and those flying knees out there for
impressed
heavyweight,
with his will to evolve. Like he wants to do. He wants to develop his game. And
he typically has the most entertaining post-fight interviews ever. His social media is hilarious as well.
Yeah, he's a funny guy.
Then after that, we had Valentina Shevchenko.
Yeah. Like I said, I think she's the most skilled female fighter ever.
Completely agree.
If it wasn't Nunes, I think is the GOAT. The female queen. But I think the only reason Shevchenko can't beat her is size. She's a little, comes up a little short. In the reach and stuff like that. But I think if you put Shevchenko in Amanda's body, watch out, man.
But I agree, but I still think the fight I would like to see the most is, and I'm not good with the women weight classes, which is a shame, but I would like to see Shevchenko go up one weight class and fight Amanda Nunes.
That's where she did last time, right? The last time they fought, she went up to 135 to fight her.
But I would still like to see it now. I feel like both fighters have evolved into this different thing, and maybe we need to get one or two under both their belts. But Amanda Nunes is going to retire, I'd say sooner rather than later.
Yeah, what more does she have to prove?
Nothing.
She's beat them all.
Yeah, she's got nothing.
Durandame was about the last one on the list that was an idea that somebody might have a shot at her.
And I was shocked by that fight because there was a point in the fight where you had to think, oh, Durandamine has a chance against
Yeah,
Nunez.
she was striking wise. I was surprised she was able to keep up with Amanda. I mean, I should have known because it's her pedigree, but
right. But she hit her with one stiff jab, I think, in the second round, and I was like, Amanda Nunez, that affected her.
Yeah.
She hit her with a stiff jab, and then for the rest of that round, it was kind of doing the same thing, and she started going for takedowns.
Yeah, Amanda didn't want to hang with her in the fight in the stand-ups, but it just goes to show how good she is because she was just shifted gears, threw her down, and out wrestled the entire rest of the match.
Right, and because so many people don't switch gears.
No,
like, honestly, even the most recent fight, which we're going to get to, but Jones versus Reyes. Jones went to the takedowns, but he did nothing with them.
Yeah, he couldn't. I couldn't keep him down.
Couldn't keep him down. It was literally take down, get up, take down, get up. But she was able to take her down, keep her down, and do a little bit of work from down there. Because I'm telling you, Durandamine, she was rocking her a little bit, and it caught her by surprise. I could see it in her face the first time it happened.
Yeah, I was a little worried because I don't like Durandamine. She's boring.
Same.
and
Same.
I was like, no, she's gonna be the one that takes Amanda out.
I did want to say it out loud when she hit her with that first stiff jab, like, oh, shit, that worried Amanda Nunez. I didn't want to say it out loud because I'm like, I'm going to sound like an idiot. Amanda Nunez is like the GOAT woman fighter.
Yeah.
And then it kept happening. The only person I whispered it to was Carl. And he was like, dude, you were right. And I'm like, I don't know what it was, but I saw it in her face from that first stiff jab. Like, ooh, she did not like that.
No.
But yeah, Shevchenko, I don't see anybody beating her for a long time.
No, I think she walks away holding that title, honestly.
Yeah. I haven't seen. I'd like to see her fight Henry Cejudo.
Yeah, something. Yeah.
And then we're gonna jump into the new one. This is really the hot topic. This is the reason we did it faster than we initially planned on. Is Jones versus Reyes, and I believe we have a disagreement here.
Yeah,
I think Reyes to me won that fight.
Yeah, I mean, I get the argument. I get people say he won the first 3 rounds, which I don't. Honestly, I would to really say that I'd have to go watch that 3rd round again for sure because I feel like halfway through that round is about when Jones started taking over the fight. But to me, I just the last 2 rounds Jones won handedly. Dominated the last 2 rounds
For sure.
And I mean, does anybody really want to see a great champion lose their title after winning the last 2 rounds, walking out the cage, the fresher fighter, the other guy could barely stand? I just and people are like, oh, you have to knock a champ out to win. And no, because I agree with some decisions. Holloway lost his belt to a decision, but he got dominated.
Yeah.
Woodley lost his belt to a decision, but he got dominated. Like. Nobody's saying you have to beat them as in knock them out, but you have to thoroughly beat the guy.
Yeah.
And to let the last 2 rounds go and be, visibly trying to get away from him the whole time. No, but I mean, was that how you want to see John Jones lose his title? I get that we got to stick to the math of he won 3 rounds, but nobody wants to see that. I'm glad they can go away from it sometimes. And the fight did take place in Texas, which isn't under the unified rules, which makes it more up to the judge's interpretation. So, I don't know.
To me, I want to see Jones lose any way possible. To be honest, I'm not a big fan. I do think he's the greatest of all time. I do think that. I don't think there could be really any argument. He's just been so dominant for so long.
Yeah.
And even Cormier, who I think is one of the best of all time, he's knocked him out twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, hit the mouse on there. This goes back very fast. But if you look at it, and don't get me wrong, I get it. It's not a big, wide difference.
That's 2 dozen strikes that are,
right.
that are different.
But if you look at it, Jones strikes 107, landed. Dominic Reyes 119. Significant strikes, Jones 104, Reyes 116. And they gave Jones 2 takedowns.
Which it was almost 3. I mean, people say 3. Everybody's saying 3 because
right. Well, because
they didn't count one.
Yeah,
kind of reversed one, maybe a little.
Yeah, and no matter what, those takedowns to me are almost null and void because he got right back up every time.
I don't consider them null and void. I think they mean something. You got taken off your feet. That means something to me, whether you got back up instantly or not. It still means something that you got taken down. Like to me, 2 of those being taken down twice is worth about a dozen strikes. the thing is like Reyes was getting awarded. Like, how many of those actually landed and weren't, where Jones stuck his arm up in front of him? Like,
I mean, he was rocking him a good bit, bro.
But look at Jones. You look at Jones' face after the match. There's nothing
wasn't
wrong
terrible.
With him. Reyes is all nicked up and his head's completely covered in scuffs.
It wasn't like Johnny Hendricks GSP. I'll give you that. After the fight, GSP looked battered, and Hendricks looked like he had not a mark on him.
And and for Reyes spam punt, that 119 and 116 is what Reyes landed, but he threw 250 and 200 and what,
Yeah, he threw a lot more.
Jones, I think it was Jones had like a 64% accuracy.
Yeah,
and Reyes had like 42%.
That
means something to me too. If you're just spamming punches at the guy, and he's taking his time, just because you're hitting him doesn't mean you're hurting him. I mean, I don't think just landing strikes doesn't. I mean, yeah, it counts, but if you're not making the guy wilt with those strikes, then what are they really doing?
But to me, I mean, he still won on significant strikes. But to me, the opposing argument to that would be if a guy only threw 5 strikes in a round, but landed 4. So you're going to say his percentage equals something?
Well, if the other guy landed 9 and threw 78, it doesn't. That's not a big difference. Like that, we're talking about 107 versus 119 and landed.
Yeah.
And Jones threw it was 140 something, and Reyes threw 250 something. That's a big difference.
I do agree with that. The accuracy was definitely in Jones' favor. I just don't know how much you can really consider that because of a stat like that. I mean, don't get me wrong. 5 punches thrown around is an exaggeration.
Yeah.
But just because you were more gun shy, to me, doesn't win you anything.
But is it gun shy, or is it a guy that knows he has to fight for 5 rounds and doesn't want to blow his wad? And the evidence shows that he was ready for the last 2 rounds and Reyes wasn't.
I agree with that. But can you? But then you got to go with the argument in Nate Diaz Jorge Masvidal fight. You know what I'm saying? Then you got to say, okay, well, Nate Diaz actually would have won the fight because he would have turned it on in the final rounds.
Well, I mean, maybe, but that's what have
right, right. But that's what I mean by that. To me, you can't go with percentage, blow your wad. And actually, a quote from Reyes, which to me lets me know that he did give up on that fight and makes me think he didn't deserve it anyway, is he said, I felt like when they asked him why you let up in the later rounds,
I felt like I had to fight one.
I felt like I had to fight one. No, dude, you can't do that. That's been preached forever. Dana White screams it from the rooftops. Don't leave it in the judge's hands. Go for the win.
And it makes sense. If you're able to keep up the pace that you had in those 3 rounds, then why didn't you?
Right.
Why would you want to let up? Because it just opens you up to getting knocked out.
Yeah. Overall, I think Santos still had the better showing, even though the stats may not support it. But I do think Reyes won that fight. I thought, even though I think I guess I think Santos did better because I think his punches did more damage.
Yeah,
I do too. I do think maybe this fight was closer than the Santos fight overall in numbers. But I think
it's hard
Santos
for me to not look
damage.
at a fight. It's just in the mentality of a fight. I get the math works in Reyes' favor, but in real life, if the guy walks out, if me and you get in a fight and you're huffing and puffing, sitting in a chair in the corner, and I'm standing there like, come on, dude, let's keep going.
Yeah.
His winning, I don't know. It's hard for me to say that Reyes should have won that fight when Jones, at the end of the fight, was the fresher guy. It looked like he could have gone 2 more rounds.
For sure.
And Reyes looked like if that would have went 2 more rounds, he was done.
He wouldn't have got up off the stool.
No.
Yeah. I can see that.
I get both arguments, but I would hate to see a champ lose in that way.
But if you're looking purely at the stats, give me a little refresher there, Sean. If you're looking purely at the stats, who would you honestly say won that fight? Purely stats.
Yeah, but those aren't all the stats.
I mean, it doesn't show the percentages. It doesn't show octagon control because Jones, even when Reyes was beating his head in a little bit, I would say Jones still had octagon control. Yeah. But how many times in a fight where you're like, man, he had octagon control the whole time? I want that to be one of the deciding factors, and it never works out that way.
No,
it never does.
And there's the argument of like just the style of how you're trying to fight the guy. Like, you know, like Reyes wants to drop in and drop out, and
yeah,
you know, he's trying to circle him. So, you know, I mean, how important is it? I don't know, but it definitely is. At least in the eyes of the judges, it looks like Jones is controlling where the fight happens. So I don't know. I get it all around. It's just I would not want to see a champ lose like that. Now, had the fight gone totally in reverse, say Jones did what Reyes did for the first 3 rounds, and then Reyes took over the last 2 rounds, I'd be probably trying to argue that Reyes should have walked away with that title, because the championship rounds do mean more to me. You know, I get, like, I'm not making the argument of what, you know, technically should be, but to me, who do I think by the eye test won that fight? John Jones was the better fighter in that fight.
Now, here's a question I'll ask you. In the first 2 rounds, how crazy? So in the first 2 rounds, were you like, Reyes is going to win this fight? Before you saw the championship rounds, were you shocked?
I was worried that I was like, man, I always felt that, like, well, Jones will turn it on, you know, because he's been doing this for a while now.
Yeah.
I felt that he was going to turn it on, but I definitely at one point was like, wow, Reyes is doing it better than about anybody's ever done, you know, especially at setting the pace and, like, you know, just he was. Yeah, he set the pace. He fought the fight the way he wanted to fight it, as opposed to Jones, dictating the speed. And
because that's normally what happens is Jones dictates everything, and it seemed like Reyes was like, "No, I'm going to take the fight to you."
Yeah, he definitely did.
I do think where he messed up too is he went in the later rounds. He went away from the leg kicks. Yeah, and I think he was actually really affecting Jones at the beginning when they were. It's like they were throwing leg kicks at the same time. They were just smashing them off shins. Each other, Oh my God, how painful does that for people like everyday people? That would be the worst thing that ever happened.
He'd fold. He wouldn't get up after one of those. My leg.
Yeah,
he'd be done.
So from there, I'm actually going to jump into something.
I'm not sad about that though.
You're not sad about that?
You really like?
I'd say I'm sad just because I'll say it, even though I agree that John Jones is the GOAT. I think he's the best to ever do it. I'm also a hater because I just think he's kind of a piece of shit human being.
Yeah, he definitely.
I mean, I would love for him to talk to me and prove otherwise, but even on the Joe Rogan podcast, when he was trying to explain what happened in the car wreck situation,
he excused himself quite a bit.
Yeah, well, and Joe was like trying to lead him towards like apologizing and say he did something shitty, and he wouldn't even go there.
Yeah.
You know, Joe was trying to lead him to like the Graceland, and he was like, well, no, man, you know, just more eyes are on me, so things look bad.
Ultimately, though, I don't think who won or lost this fight matters, because I think ultimately the same thing's going to happen. Now we're going to get the Reyes-Jones rematch, I'd imagine, and had Reyes won, we would have got the Jones-Reyes rematch either way. And we're probably going to get it anyway. And in the second fight, it would be the same thing. Jones always beats everybody in the second fight pretty badly.
Pretty handedly, yeah.
Or Reyes learns from his mistakes, and paces himself for 5 rounds. Either way, I think we're going to get that second fight. So I don't think it really even matters.
I would say I think that would be the right move, but I'm not guaranteeing that because I think there's a good chance that he says, listen, my last 2 fights at light heavyweight were both a challenge, and if I really want a big money fight, it's time to go fight Stipe.
Yeah.
That's my take.
That's the thing that would derail it. Or what? We don't know how far Dos Santos is from recovery.
yeah, Santos.
Could be 7 years at the way he tore his legs.
Yeah, who knows? But regardless, I don't think Santos would get a title shot before Reyes.
No.
I do think it would be Reyes. I do think the rematch is the only fight to make it light heavyweight.
Yeah.
But I think there's a chance that Jones and his team say, listen, man, we've had a couple rough fights at light heavyweight. We were supposed to not have any competition here.
Yeah.
And it's getting a little rough. If we want that big money fight and we want to give you the champ status, which I hate that saying. I just
might want to do this before you end up losing that light heavyweight.
Right. So I think that's a high possibility. I really, really do. I wouldn't. Not only would I not be, I actually would be shocked if he didn't go to heavyweight now. Because even before the fight, he said, what will determine him going to heavyweight will be if the fans want me to go to heavyweight. Yeah. And I think no matter whether the fans say they want a Reyes rematch or not, he's going to say the fans want me to go to heavyweight.
Well, and the fans want, but the fans certainly wouldn't bitch about seeing him go to heavyweight.
And
Everybody
fight
wants
Steve
to see it regardless.
Yeah, they're not going to bitch. If he says that, they're like, yeah, that's what we wanted.
Yeah. Also the Reyes, but also this too.
Yeah.
It wouldn't matter.
Yeah, then maybe go back down and fight Reyes.
But if Reyes does win this fight, the last fight, maybe we'd never get to see Jones go to heavyweight. He might have ruined everything. So right. I'm glad it went the way it did.
Yeah, exactly. So even though it's not MMA, where I want to go from here, just because I think it's a fight we're both excited for, is boxing and Wilder Fury.
Yeah, I've not been excited about a boxing match in a long time, but man, that one excites me.
Yeah, I wasn't even that excited about the first one, except for the fact that I love Fury's story.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, Fury is the lineal champion, which is a thing in boxing. He's never lost the heavyweight title, and he beat the guy that beat the guy that beat the guy.
Yeah.
So that makes him the lineal champ, and he beat the guy that nobody was supposed to be able to beat. What was it? Klitschko.
Yeah.
And after that, he went into some fit of depression and just wanted to party and just blew up in weight and partied.
Yeah, he's a big advocate for like mental illness and stuff, right?
Yeah, he really went into a dark place for some reason after winning the championship. It probably stemmed from before that, but he wasn't fighting. He wasn't doing anything. And then he saw Deontay Wilder say he's the best heavyweight in the world, and it made him get up off the couch and change his life.
Yeah.
And came back, and his first fight was against a nobody, but he obviously dominated. But from what I can tell, he may be the most skilled heavyweight of all time. When you look at footwork, and I'm not a huge boxing fan, so that's a little bit hard for me to say. But when you look at footwork, head movement, and just pure boxing,
he looks much more technical than the guys he faces every time.
Yeah.
And Wilder's his knockout power is insane. So
it might be better than Tyson's.
Yeah,
it really might be.
It's crazy.
And he's doing it much lighter than most of the heavyweights are. Like I think for the last Wilder fight, he actually weighed in at like 209 as a boxing heavyweight.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of bananas.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an exciting fight. I mean, I'm not as into boxing, but this one's gonna get me in front of the TV, which is rare. So
yeah. Well, Ed, did you?
And they are the two best. They're 1A and 1B.
They're
neck and neck.
By far the two best. And in boxing, for some reason, we don't very often get to see the two best fight each other for whatever reason.
They avoid each other all the time.
Yeah. They're like, hey, listen, we can both just have our belts and not fight each other and call it a day.
Yeah, we can both pretend we're the best in the world.
Yeah, just look at Mayweather Pacquiao. We got that fight, 5-10 years too late, And with this one, it's right on time, honestly. And the first fight, I think Fury was winning technically, and then even though he got up, he got flatlined in the 12th round. Yeah. When he first went down, he was out. His eyes were open. He was not awake.
Yeah, and then he summoned the Undertaker.
Yeah,
exactly.
Sat up like Paul Bear was on the side with the urn.
That one clip right there sold me on the next one. You know what I mean? Like watching him get clocked and then sit straight up like that. I was like, "What? These guys are amazing. I want to see that."
Yeah. And what's crazy is not only did he sit right up, but after that, they made him walk here, walk there, check his gloves, then back at it. He got hit pretty powerful a couple more times, but then probably won the round after that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of crazy. You got rocked in a round and still ended up winning the round, possibly. That's kind of insane.
Yeah, I think he threw Wilder off, you know what I mean? And this guy's still coming. I gave him the shot.
I gave him the shot that puts everybody out. Yeah. To put in perspective, he hit Ortiz, Deontay Wilder hit Ortiz in the forehead and knocked him out. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's hard.
You don't hit people in the forehead and knock them out clean. That's insane. That's the kind of power Deontay Wilder brings. And somehow Fury got up like the Undertaker.
Yeah.
And again, maybe won the round after that.
Where are you watching that up? Same place you always watch the UFC?
Yeah, same place we always
Definitely
do. You've been there before, right?
I don't think so. I used to come whenever you guys lived at
Buena Vista.
but I haven't been there in the new place.
I'll make sure you get the address for sure.
Yeah.
I've told him.
Actually, I think I did come there one time.
Down in the basement, 3 TV setup.
I was there once.
Yeah. Even if you don't remember, I'll get you the address. You
Right
definitely
on.
got to come check that out. I just think that's a boxing match that
Yeah.
nobody that likes combat sports should miss.
Yeah.
I just really don't. I normally, this might be the one and only time we talk about boxing, except for after the fight.
I think I was there for Silva versus Diaz. I think
that might be.
I think that was it.
Which was a shenanigans of a fight.
Yeah. Wasn't Diaz like?
He laid down one time.
Yeah, he was doing.
Yeah. Well, and he was right to do it because Diaz is Silva is a counter striker, so he was trying to get Silva to engage and not be a counter
freezes
striker.
in the middle of the cage at one point and lets Silva like walk all the way around him.
Yeah.
Like Silva's gonna kick you at the back of your head. Like,
Yeah, he literally did. He just stood there and he was like, he just turned his head with him, like, "Come on, man, you gonna do something?" Trying to get him to engage. Smart move. Didn't work out. Made for kind of a boring fight.
Yeah.
We
had a good time.
Though. It's always a good time when we watch the fights. After that, I actually have Nick Newell on here because he's in Bellator now.
Yeah.
You know, for those that don't know, he has one full arm and basically a half an arm.
Oh, okay.
That's who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So he is actually fighting Bellator. He went into Dana White's Contender Series, and I don't even think he won his fight, which is why he probably didn't end up in the UFC. Because trust me, the UFC wanted to see that guy in a pay-per-view because that's a big money draw.
Yeah.
But I'm interested to see how he does. He was a champion in the smaller promotions and won pretty handedly. But can you really be that good with that kind of handicap in a fight, man?
I don't see how it could be done. Not when it gets to that elite level. Man.
I can't remember if it's.
I hate to like discourage the guy, But,
no, I want you to keep fighting as long as you want to fight, and if it's a fight that I can watch, I'll watch it. But you can only strike with one hand, brother.
And you can't block to that on that side.
You can block a little bit because he's got all the way up to like I'd say like a little less than halfway to his forearm, so he can. Pull it all the way up, but you're not going to do just a hand. It's got to be all the way up here, like your elbow to your head.
Exposes your,
rib cage like a motherfucker. Yeah. It seems like a tough road for him. I'm interested to see what he does in Bellator. His fight's coming up fairly soon. I don't know exactly when, but I'm interested to see. Yeah, it's a good story
for sure.
I'm glad Bellator gave him a chance.
Yeah.
Because who knows, in Bellator. Maybe he has a nice little run.
Yeah, maybe he could be a contender there.
Yeah, I don't know what weight class he is. I just hope he doesn't run into Douglas Lima.
Yeah.
Because I think Douglas Lima is the only guy. I know a lot of people say, like, what if this guy went here? But Douglas Lima is the only guy I really want to see in the UFC.
Yeah. I remember Michael Venom Page for a while. I wanted to see that. But, I mean, how's he been doing? I haven't heard much from him lately.
The only they fed him a lot of fighters because of his flashy style. And everybody wants to see him fight, and then he ran into Douglas Lima and
same situation.
Douglas Lima, he went to do some weird movement and bent down real low, and Douglas Lima just
kicked him in the head.
Yeah, he punched him and knocked him out clean.
I think I've seen that.
That flashy style is great if you can also make sure you really avoid the contact. And when he fought Douglas Lima, who I think is the only real contender to possibly go into the UFC, it got exposed real fast. Could have also been lucky. Could have been lucky, but it is what it is. So we might as well go into future fights. So we have the UFC Fight Night. Corey Anderson. Actually, I want to talk about this first. Corey Anderson was talking all about John Jones versus Reyes, and he said that he is glad that John Jones won the fight. Yeah. Regardless of what he thinks, how the fight should have played out, he's glad that John Jones.
Wants to be the one.
Because he wants to be the one that dethrones him.
Yeah.
Which
that's the mentality to have, though.
That is the mentality to have.
I want to Highlander this shit. I'm going to take his.
There could only be one.
Right.
Yeah, and he he seems to recently have the right mentality. He seems angry, like he's being disrespected, and
he fought Johnny Walker last? Is that who he fought?
Yeah,
last?
and knocked him out.
Yeah,
and everybody wanted Johnny Walker to be the next guy to fight Jones.
And I mean Walker's a good prospect, but yeah, I mean he definitely proved that he's the one that needs to be looked at as opposed to Johnny Walker.
Yeah, the only part I feel bad for Corey Anderson, even though he wants to be the guy that dethrones him, is if Jones fights again at light heavyweight, it's going to be Reyes.
Yeah.
And then if Santos is back and ready after Reyes, then he has to fight Santos, I feel like.
Yeah.
Or you get Corey Anderson versus Santos.
Yeah, that's probably what would happen because it's been so long since if Santos was healthy right after, then you probably end up with a rematch against Jones. But because Reyes just did it, people are going to forget about Santos, and then by the time he gets back, it'll be time to prove yourself again. Probably, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think you got to prove yourself against somebody. And if Corey Anderson wins this fight, then it's probably, I would say, Santos versus Corey Anderson.
It'll probably line up too because it'll be Corey Anderson. Should he win this fight, it'll be his time to start being the number one contender, and then Santos has an argument too, so that probably lines up that they end up fighting for a number one contender spot.
And it's just such a dangerous fight for Corey Anderson because Corey Anderson, I feel like he's going to have to try to take him down, which is his normal style. Even though he knocked out Johnny Walker, who is supposed to be this phenomenal striker, he probably wants to take him down because I feel like Santos, at this point, since Rumble Johnson left, is probably the heaviest hitter in light heavyweight.
Yeah.
And that's just dangerous to sit there and stand with a guy who's got Thor's hammer on his chest.
And who knows if Blankowitz doesn't win this fight. I mean, Anderson out-wrestled Johnny Walker quite well, but Blankowitz or whatever is a much bigger guy, I feel like. He's a big, heavy body.
He seems like a big, heavy body. He does. He seems really big.
And he's got, knockout power, too. So I don't even know if Corey Anderson is going to win this fight.
But to me, we're saying that off of the fact that
Luke Rockhold.
that Blachowicz fought Luke Rockhold, and neither of us were impressed with Luke Rockhold going to light heavyweight.
Right. But I don't. I almost feel like Dana threw Rockhold to
the wolves.
Yeah, I don't think he liked Rockhold. I don't think anybody likes Rockhold.
Yeah, I can't think of anybody who's like, oh, Luke Rockhold, man, that's my favorite fighter.
He's so pretty.
he's so pretty. He's a great model.
He's a model fighter. No, he's just a model.
Yeah, he just likes Ralph Lauren clothes.
Yeah.
But I would say I think that might be the fight for Anderson beforehand. So he still has a long road there, even though that's what he's saying. And I feel like there's a good chance, even if Jones does fight Reyes again, win or lose, he goes to heavyweight afterwards. Yeah. I still think he might go to heavyweight before he fights Reyes again.
Yeah.
But so that leads us into that fight night, Anderson versus Blachowicz. I do think Anderson wins. I do. I think he has a more complete game than Blachowicz from what I've seen.
Yeah.
Go ahead and pull up that fight card for us. I do think
fight night.
Corey Anderson wins that fight.
Left.
Yeah, a little bit over.
Left.
One more.
That one.
All right, scroll down. I do think Corey Anderson wins this fight. I do think Corey Anderson has somewhat been disrespected for what he's done.
They're ranked 5 and 6. Huh?
He also 5
and 6. So.
He also has the weirdest nipples in the game. Man, Blachowicz is actually 25 and 8, huh?
That's what I mean. That's what I said about throwing Rockhold to the wolves. But
yeah,
Blachowicz.
He might be no joke. Go down a little bit. What's their reach? Oh, they got even reach. Yeah. Yeah, hit back on that.
It's a good fight.
Yeah, that's a good fight. I'm interested to see that fight. I really got to get into more of these fight nights, especially.
Yeah, that's where you learn about. Yeah, I mean the up and comers and people jump pretty far in some of them fight nights. They go from nobody to being number 5.
Yeah. Under that fight nights, you also have Diego Sanchez versus neither of us know how to say his name. Sorry for the disrespect, but like Piera.
Oh yeah. Oh well, this is the thing is, I mean Diego's been winning some fights, but the guy he's going against is he's flashy. He's really skilled. I think
he was the guy that was.
Yeah, he did a bunch of flips in his last fight. I think it cost him. I think he ended up losing. But I mean, he's a flashy guy, but he can. He'll knock you out like from anywhere.
He's like that guy from Tekken.
Yeah, I don't.
Right, what was his name in Tekken?
Eddie Gordo.
Yeah.
It's something like that. But yeah, I think he's too much for Diego at this point.
I do too. If you're going to be honest, Diego
has way bigger than Diego is what I'm thinking too.
Well, and Diego has no head movement.
No,
he just comes straight forward at you with no head movement. It's like very square off stance.
It's like his neck is sealed to his shoulders.
Yeah, he's just like the stiffest person I've ever seen fight. It's insane, and Diego's times are past him. Remember when he tried to change his name from the Nightmare to the Dream?
Yeah. Yeah.
That didn't do him much good. But Diego's, I will always watch every one of his fights because they're always exciting because he's nonstop. He's going to come straight at you. But yeah, I don't see that going well for him. Then after that, we got the fight night, Felder versus Dan Hooker.
Yeah, that's because I think Felder, one of the two had just beat Ally Quinta not too long ago.
It might be Dan Hooker.
Yeah, so basically whoever wins that fight is going to probably propel themselves into number 3 or 4 at lightweight, which I mean, they're not big names right now.
Because what are they now, 6 and 7?
Yeah, they're not big names right now, but whoever wins this fight probably becomes a name. They become.
Well, and I feel like Felder should be a name. Is he? He's also one of the main commentators.
Yeah.
Is he? Did he have injury issues? Because I remember him being hyped big time.
I think he did.
And then he just disappeared for a little while.
Some knee issues, right?
Yeah, because I'm a very big fan of him. Everything I've seen, everything he throws, from what I remember, is very impactful. Like if he hits you with something, you feel it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm excited for that fight. I want to see that. I don't know Dan Hooker as much. And if you look at their records, go back up a little bit there. If you look at the records, 16-4, 19-8. So, Dan Hooker, I don't know that much about. He might also be a model, though.
Yeah. One of them did just beat Ally Quinta, though, and I mean that's no small feat.
That's no small feat.
So
I think Ally Quinta has still to this date has done better against Khabib than any other fighter.
Yeah, whoever wins this puts themselves in a prime position at lightweight.
Well, especially if Gaethje ends up leaving. If Gaethje doesn't get the fight he wants, I think he might go back to PFL.
Really?
I think there's a possibility. He can win that $1 million tournament, bro.
Yeah, there you go.
And he's probably gonna win it if he goes there.
Go get yourself $1 million and then come back.
Yeah. But so on that one, I think that's all I saw there. Click back one so we can see if there's another fight we want to talk about on there. Let's see. We're getting there. Click on the Felder Hooker again.
You just need to go down.
Yeah, we just need to scroll down, see what other fights are on that fight card. Come on, load up. There we go. Jim Crude versus Michael, something crazy.
Yeah, there's nothing on that card. Yeah, that card was not that great.
Yeah, no, that's it. Go ahead and go back. We're going to jump to fight night. Benavidez versus Figueroa. I don't know how to say that guy's name. No insult to him. Looks like he might have a red tattoo on his head.
Yeah, or blood. But maybe he just comes in bloody.
But anybody versus Joseph Benavidez that's not named Mighty Mouse, I got to go Benavidez.
Yeah, normally.
Yeah,
that's him.
He's a great fighter. He's been around a long time. Go ahead and click on that actual fight. So I'd like to see Benavidez's record.
He's probably only lost 3 or 4 fights. What, 5 fights?
27-5. Oh, this guy's 16-1 though.
Yeah, it's a good fight, but you gotta throw it to Benavidez.
I gotta go Benavidez. That guy does have more reach. He's taller, but I still gotta go Benavidez. I mean, Benavidez is a monster.
Yeah, he's won every fight besides the elite of the elite.
Yeah, exactly. And I wonder, did they make Henry Cejudo give up one of his titles?
I don't know. No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Why would they? Because they're half-assed, like trying to get rid of 125. Why would they even make him get rid of it? He's the only thing that's keeping that alive right now.
Yeah,
so.
that's true.
And they're at 135, who's there to really challenge him? TJ's gone.
Yeah.
It's, what's his name?
The guy that fought
Cody Garbrandt.
Cody
He's
Garbrandt.
got a fight coming too.
Yeah.
But
there's not really a lot of people in those divisions.
He's got a lot to do before he earns a title shot.
Yeah. What are these guys ranked? Does it show their rankings on here? Go up a little.
It should if you go back at least.
There you go. Yeah. So Benavidez is 1. This guy's number 3. 16-1. He's number 3. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I got to go Benavidez. There's just no way around it. Let's go ahead and scroll down and see who else is on this card. Or are we on
get
there?
Back one?
Yeah, go back 1. Where are we at? Does it take you back? It does. It takes you back all the way every time. The UFC has the worst website. Go ahead and click on Benavidez Figueroa again. Figueroa. And then just scroll down instead of clicking on the main fight. Yeah, they have the worst website. Yeah, it's not even updated half the time.
Spencer.
Yeah, Felicia Spencer's kind of a no name. Yeah. Oh, Megan Anderson. I did want to talk about that. Scroll down a little bit. Megan Anderson, I think, unfortunately, there's not a lot of women that fight in her weight class. That's the cyborg weight class.
145?
I believe that's what it is. Yeah. I think she is an intriguing fighter. I think she is actually, I hate to say this, but sometimes beauty comes into factor in women's MMA. And she's
like the karate hottie. And what's the blonde one?
Paige Van Zandt.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, but Megan Anderson to me is attractive, and also the fights I've seen, she actually has a lot of skills. She still needs to build it up some. But I'm very intrigued to keep seeing her fight.
I'm happy to see some 145 women outside of Durandame and Cyborg, and Nunes has to go up to do it.
Right. Well, because they basically created that weight division for Cyborg.
Yeah.
It did. Cyborg did what a fight. What's her name?
But I think I like that there is a 145 women's. There should be a heavyweight women's.
Yeah.
And I think Cyborg she's 145 wasn't. She's more even like 155. Like she doesn't really even like 145.
Yeah, she still has to cut to get there. Yeah. And unfortunately, she left for Bellator, which I don't know who the fuck they're gonna have her fight because again, there's just no women.
Ken Shamrock probably. How was that? No.
I'd pay to see that fight. I think Cyborg would win.
Yeah. He's awful.
Yeah, he won UFC back in the day when they had the long tournaments and there weren't people really fighting, I guess you could say, and he never parred well with the newer age.
He looks like an old man that's juiced his whole life. So.
Yeah, that's exactly what he looks like. But I'm intrigued to see Megan Anderson fight again. It's so crazy her name's Megan, not Megan. I'm not just saying that wrong.
It's not spelled Megan, though.
Yeah, it's spelled Megan. But, all right, let's go to the final thing we're really going to talk about here. I do have a couple random things to get into, but UFC 248.
That is...
Yeah, you should have that pulled up somewhere. Did we not get it up?
No, but it's back. If you go back...
If you go back, you'll find it under recent events.
Adesanya versus Romero.
Yeah, Adesanya versus Romero. We'll just start at the top of that one. You go ahead and find it. We'll get there. I'll be honest, I'm nervous for Adesanya.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's open to get rushed, I think, like if Romero can get past, him keeping him on the outside with strikes, if he can bull rush him, I think he can get him,
and I think he will because don't get me wrong, I believe he TKO'd Whitaker.
Yeah.
Adesanya.
Yeah.
But Adesanya, to me, did not look great in that fight. He was fighting, Silva was a counter striker, but Silva would step back to counter strike, and he would lean back some, but he didn't throw too many, like just leaning straight back and throwing flurries. I felt like Adesanya was literally leaning straight back and throwing flurries.
Throwing over top. Yeah.
It looked really weird to me. Like when he was fighting, I was like, this looks so like you're just kind of just throwing punches and just hoping not to get hit.
Though I think Gastelum put up a better fight against him, I think he looked a little better in the Gastelum fight, except for some
I completely agree. I completely agree.
There was a moment though, even in the Gastelum fight, where I thought Gastelum almost had it won. Like he was flurrying him with punches and got him up against the cage, and then decided he was gonna stick his head in his belly. And I'm like, man, I don't know if Gastelum just didn't have the energy to keep throwing, but I was like, if you keep throwing right there, you might win that fight.
Yeah, you might have caught him and rocked him because they were standing straight forward, and in this fight against Whitaker, Adesanya literally was leaned back like. Stylebender was a perfect name for him because he was bent all the way fucking back. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was such a... I've never seen somebody fight, let alone win like that. You know what I mean? It looked like the fights you see on like World Star Hip Hop where they just lean back and throw a bunch of punches. Don't get me wrong. I do think Adesanya is one of the best strikers in MMA.
Yeah, well, and Whitaker kept giving it to him too. Like he was just trying to flurry him, like he couldn't get past his reach. So he just kept trying to like... flurry at his face over top of him and wasn't connecting.
Yeah,
and then we get clipped on the way out and stuff. But I don't know. I don't know what Whitaker was trying to do. Like it seemed like a bad game plan for him too.
It seemed like a bad game plan. Adesanya looked weird, and what I saw in the Whitaker Romero fights, I mean, I feel like Romero could have possibly won one of those decisions.
Yeah,
and I think. I don't know.
And I think Romero, I felt like he won that Paulo Costa fight.
I definitely feel like he won that Paulo Costa fight.
Yeah, I thought he did. I know it was pretty close, but
it was definitely close. But I think he won that fight as well. But that was an exciting fight. That was one of the fights that was worth the pay-per-view buy, even though it wasn't the headliner.
The Hulk versus the Thing. It was cool, man.
Yeah, it was good.
Scary.
The
scary monsters. As
Brendan Schaub would say, they were like the two top team all body.
Yeah.
Just two monsters of men.
Yeah. Action figures.
Did you see the face off that Adesanya and Romero had?
Yeah.
Where they did the dance off?
Oh, no, I didn't see that.
You didn't see that?
No.
Oh man. Go to YouTube, see if you can see Adesanya Romero dance off.
That's great.
Because Adesanya is all about dancing. So he started dancing, and then Romero was like, all right, man, you want to dance? And Romero does a backflip into a split. And what is he, 43 years old?
He's
in Cuban years.
Timeless, man.
He's 43 years old in Cuban years, so he might be 50.
Yeah.
Click on that.
I don't understand him. I don't get it. How are you this like athletic and you look great like
at his age,
43.
But what he said was if you look at people in Cuba, we're all like this.
Yeah.
He's like that's just what we are. So they do this little face off here. Everybody should look this up. Adesanya Romero face off. Actually, probably just look up dance off. Maybe we can fast forward a little bit, see how much time is on this. No, it's about to happen. It's about to go down right here. I will say, in Adesanya's respect to Adesanya, he wanted this fight.
Yeah,
he wanted it. Yeah.
Well, he's on a mission to clean out his division, and he knows he has to go through him to truly say he did.
It's crazy. He's a good bit taller than Romero, huh?
Yeah.
So look, they're gonna start dancing. Look.
With jeans on.
Yeah. That man is like 43 years old. He did a backflip and then
look. Shit.
Adesanya's like, hold on, we really gonna do this? Nah, Adesanya didn't want that. He's like, man, dude did a backflip into a split. I'm not doing all this.
I got $1 million to make in a couple weeks.
Yeah, exactly. I got $1 million. For him to even risk doing that backflip into a split, what if you pulled your groin right there?
Yeah, no way. Adesanya, though, he keeps talking about John Jones, and I'm like, man, like, yeah, I don't see it. I don't know why you even want that fight.
I think Jones is too big for him.
Yeah, he's just too big.
I like Romero versus Jones better than I like Adesanya versus Jones.
Yeah, I think Jones would ragdoll him. I don't see how Adesanya wins that fight.
Yeah.
I'm not even interested in it.
No, I'm not either. Although, then again, we see the last fight, and you think, man, Jones should probably go to the wrestling. He does go to the wrestling, and he can't keep Reyes down.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, Reyes got back up from every takedown just immediately.
But you're talking about a guy who's talking about going to heavyweight.
Yeah.
Fighting a guy who's at middleweight.
And would be a small light heavy.
Yeah.
For sure,
right.
he'd be a small light heavy.
For sure.
He's all skin and bones there.
Yeah, he's 6'4". Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, his height isn't terrible, but, I mean, when you look at him...
Yeah, he would have to put on a lot of weight.
He'd have to put on a lot of weight. I don't see that even being really a good
He's
fight.
perfect for where he's at. I don't know why he's even talking about it.
I think because Jones is looking for that super fight. I mean, if you're going to get a super fight, the guy that you know you can beat's the better super fight.
And they're kind of mirror match as far as who they are, their styles. They look alike. You know,
yeah.
I get why people are talking about it, but it's just it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I would. As crazy as it sounds, because I was never a big fan of him until I found out he was fighting with one eye forever. Yeah. I'd still to this day probably rather see Michael Bisping versus John Jones. You know?
I like Bisping.
I didn't used to, and then I later in his career I fell in love with him, and especially finding out that he was fighting with one eye. And
he's kind of like Chael, like they just asshole their way into your heart at some point.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and in his one podcast, I don't know if it was a fake eye while he was fighting or if he had a real eye at the time, but it was just dead. But in a podcast, he literally just recently took his eye out.
Yeah, I didn't know he had a fake eye. I thought his eye just didn't
work.
Yeah, so he said he had a fake eye. I'm like, what? It doesn't. But people with fake eyes, you can tell when you look at him. You cannot tell his eyes fake.
Could not tell. He must have just looked straight forward all the time.
Yeah, or does he have one that moves? Like, because I swear I've never. Like, I can't tell.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Maybe he just got it taken out after he was done fighting and decided he was retiring. I don't know if he had it completely. I know it was dead during. I found out that he had no sight out of that eye while he was fighting, which to me questions the athletic commissions. You guys didn't realize the dude couldn't see out of one eye? Like, if somebody bleeds too much in their eye and they say they can't see from it, they call the fight.
Yeah, and I thought the thing was they said that the problem with his eye, they could fix it, but if they did the surgery, he wouldn't be able to fight anymore. And so he decided to put off the surgery until he was done. That's what I always understood was like, he wasn't going to do the surgery until he retired to fix his eye. And then I hear a couple months ago that he's a fake eye. I'm like, what are you talking? Like,
yeah, he literally there's a video. He takes it out of his fucking skull.
Yeah.
He takes the eye out. That's fucking crazy.
My grandfather had a fake eye. He put it in people's drinks and shit. Yeah, he got it shot out hunting. Like a bullet hit him right in the eye.
No shit.
A hunting accident.
That's sad that happened, but it's hilarious that he would just put it in people's drinks.
He was a good sport about it.
How freaked out would you be if you just and there was an eye in there?
Well, imagine if you swallowed you thought it was an ice cube and you just swirled it around in your mouth for a second. This ice cube's not melting. It's an eye.
It's weird to chew on. That's fucking crazy. That makes me want a fake eye.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the worst thing. Better than like a fake arm, you know.
Way better than a fake arm.
Yeah.
What gag are you gonna pull with a fake arm?
Can't put my arm in your drink. You would totally notice that right away. Anyway. You don't even have the element of surprise with that. Dude, you put your fucking arm in my drink again.
You're being an asshole.
I'm watching you do it.
Yeah. Why do I keep having these big ass cups that you can fit your arm in?
Whole arm in. I'm just drinking shots from now on.
I'm dying. I'm sorry. That's fucking hilarious to me. Oh my god. That's so funny. I'm fucking crying. Oh my god. Quit being a dickhead. Get your fucking leg out of my drink.
Yeah. You don't got a fake dick, do you? Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you did. You put your fake dick in here as the stirring straw.
Yeah.
I get it.
A little umbrella in the tip.
Yeah. By the way, get a bigger fake dick, you asshole.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's fucking great. I'm sorry. Oh, that was too much for me.
Yeah.
I'm literally fucking crying. That makes me want some whiskey. Oh man. All right. So after that fight on that same card, we have I'm thinking her name is pronounced Zhang versus Joanna Champion.
Yeah.
Jędrzejczyk.
Joanna Jędrzejczyk.
And this fight is rough for me to call. You go ahead and click on the Romero fight again, actually. Go back up.
Yeah,
click on that. It's the undercard. Or well, not the undercard, but just the co-main event. I haven't seen Zhang fight enough, and to be perfectly honest, I didn't even watch her fight.
I don't even think I saw her championship fight.
I didn't, and that's sad. We're doing an MMA podcast, and we haven't seen that fight. Maybe we'll.
There's so many, and I mean, now that we're gonna do it, I'm gonna keep up more.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna try to watch every fight night. I'm gonna try to watch everything.
Yeah.
But from what I understand, she won pretty decisively, Zhang, but at the same time,
It's 115 though. Joanna was the champ at 115 before? Wait, what happened? Okay, so no, wait. Rose was the champ.
Yes,
and then
she lost to
the girl that dumped her.
Yeah, what's her name? It's not. It's something like Andrade. Andrade.
So Andrade dumps Rose on her head, wins. Even though Rose was winning the whole fight anyway.
Yes, definitely would have.
And then Andrade loses to Zhang. Is that how it went?
Yes.
Okay, and Zhang, I think I did see that fight. I think she won pretty handedly. So, we all knew Andrade kind of got lucky with that dump.
Definitely got lucky. I still think Rose might be the best of that weight division.
Yeah. So what we're setting? I mean, if Joanna wins, what we're setting up now is
Rose
again, right? They fought twice already.
Yeah, I think Rose is probably going to fight somebody before that, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I think she probably wins handily. I love Rose.
Yeah, but I love Joanna too. If I could have Joanna and Rose both be champion of that division, I would.
I agree, because before Joanna ran into Rose, it looked like she was unbeatable.
Yeah, she was. I mean, she looked like one of those all timer. Like she's the Anderson Silva of women.
Yeah. Her striking is just unbelievable.
Yeah, it's great.
And somehow Rose beat her in striking both fights.
I know. Has Joanna ever fought Shevchenko they have fought in kickboxing outside of UFC, but have they ever fought in the UFC?
I do believe. Hey, go to Wikipedia and look up Joanna. You're gonna have to look at how she spells her crazy
maybe
name.
Copy paste her name.
Yeah, and go to there it is, and go to her Wikipedia, and then we'll be able to find her fight record from there. Just like Wikipedia over there on the left. Okay, go down.
Oh, it'll be way far down.
Yeah, way far down. You'll see it'll be like a link you have to click on.
Not those. Further.
Yeah,
further
keep going.
down.
Keep going down.
Those. Okay.
There we go.
Valentina Shevchenko.
Yeah, I was going to say.
What's the UFC women's flyweight? So that was 125. So Joanna tried to move up and fight Valentina.
Which was an obvious mistake.
Yeah, I mean, Joanna, skilled as she is, that's already up a weight for her, and I mean, Shevchenko's the baddest. So
yeah, that's all there is to that. I think is Tisha Torres up there with Valentina. Is that the same weight class?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, people. Yeah. I've heard people say stuff like Joanna, it might be on the downside, but I'm like, man. Like, besides losing to Rose, she lost to Valentina at 125, which was kind of an experiment for her.
Yeah.
I think she's still got every bit the chance to regain that title and reign again for a little while.
Yeah.
Depending on if she can get past Rose. I mean, Rose seems to have her number for some reason. But
she just has something figured out.
And it doesn't even look, when I watch those fights, I'm like, why is Rose able to beat her? Why?
Right.
I can't figure it out.
It's dumbfounding. It's like she just has her timing down perfectly.
Yeah, there's nothing Rose does that makes me think she should be able to win this fight, but she just dominates her, and I'm like, Joanna's faced this before. Why can't she do it?
Right. But it literally seems like Rose, I completely agree. It just seems like Rose has her timing down perfectly. And she every time she comes in for a strike, she hits her with 3.
Yeah.
It was so weird to see, because she's not doing anything special. No. You're right. And I do love Rose. Don't get me wrong.
Me too.
But it just seems like she's not doing anything special. She just has her number.
She's not faster. She's not. But it's like just whatever the timing gap is, Rose slides right in it. Like.
Yeah, it was so weird to see it. But her boyfriend is, maybe one of the best. He's not one of the best heavyweights of all time, but maybe one of the best strikers in heavyweight of all time, Patrick Perry.
Oh, that's Rose's
That's Rose's.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, that's Rose's boyfriend. That's who she trains with down with Duke Rufus.
Okay.
And they're all about the striking down at Duke Rufus.
Yeah.
And Patrick Berry, even though he never made any real acclaim to fame, his biggest claim to fame is actually his Czech Congo fight, where they both kept knocking. Czech won, but they both kept knocking each other out.
Yeah. There were 6 knockouts in that fight.
Yeah, there were 6 knockouts. Czech Congo ended up with the final knockout.
Yeah, that was wild.
But he's an elite striker. He's a kickboxer. He was a much better kickboxer than he was an MMA fighter. So that who knows, maybe that helped him out some. And when you hear her talk, she's just such a real person.
Yeah,
Rose,
she's a sweetheart.
Yeah, but Joanna, I think I can't bet against her.
Yeah,
I can't.
She's intense. Dude.
She's intense, man.
The thing with Rose though is I felt bad, like her getting dumped by Andrade. It seemed like it wilted her. Like she was depressed about it, and I'm like, kid. It's your fucking. Just go back. You got unlucky. Just go right back. You're fine. Like
you were winning that whole fight. Yeah. You tried to hold on to an armbar for too long, and you got dumped.
You got dumped, but it affected her way more than it should have. She should have just been like, whatever. I'll come. Well, let's redo this in 6 weeks. I'll be back.
But that's how she is. She's got that weird mentality, man.
Yeah.
Rose. I'm glad we jumped on to Rose, even though we were talking about Joanna, because Rose has a weird mentality.
Yeah.
She has this very peaceful mentality, but she's a fighter,
and
she doesn't like people talking about her, even though she was a model before she was a fighter, and she just gave up modeling altogether. Unlike our boy Luke Rockhold,
it should be very successful.
Yeah, she'd be. She's very beautiful. But yeah, I agree with you. She should have just came back and said, you know what? I'm a beast. I'm going to go out here and I'm going to fucking beat her this time. Because she was beating the shit out of her.
Yeah, she let it get to her way too much. I mean, it's unfortunate. It's like that girl has every reason to have all the confidence in the world. And it's like, I don't want to call her weak, but it's like she's kind of mentally weak. Why? I don't get it.
But it's so weird. I would say mentally weak in the fight game, but mentally strong in everyday life.
Yeah.
Because she just
has a good outlook of life. But
right. But in the fight game, that's a weak mentality because you were beating the fuck out of that woman. You were beating the hell out of her. And you decided that was too much for you and you had to back out. So hopefully she comes back strong.
Yeah, I hope so.
But I'm going Joanna on that fight. I am.
Yeah, it's mostly because I want to see her do it again.
I would have to agree. That's the biggest thing because I don't know enough about Zhang to say like, I think Joanna's going to beat her. I want to see Joanna get back.
I think it's a good fight. I think it's a really good fight.
Yeah. And then on there, you also have the guy that beat Anderson Silva, Cannonier.
Yeah.
They don't know who he's going to fight yet, but I'm excited to see that because he seems like
they got a to be determined across from his name. Right?
Yeah, it seems like he's going to be. Good. But we don't know who he's going to fight, and then the fight that I maybe am most excited for besides the main event, and I don't even care who he's fighting, I just can't wait to see him back, is Sean O'Malley.
I don't know much about Sean O'Malley.
He was the guy, he had to keep backing out of fights because he tested positive, but they found out that it was tainted supplements, blah, blah, blah. But he literally destroyed his foot in a fight and still won.
Oh, okay.
He's got dreads. Look up Sugar Shane O'Malley.
Sean or Shane?
It's Sean. Sugar Shane. You know what I'm thinking of with Sugar Shane. That's that old boxer.
Yeah.
But he, you might recognize him when you see him. No, maybe not because you should recognize him right away. But no,
I don't think I've.
He's got a crazy stand-up style, insane stand-up style, and he was beating the shit out of his last opponent. I can't remember who it was, and he ended up like breaking his foot or something. He couldn't even stand on it, and he still for like a round or two.
He's 10-0.
Yeah, he still ended up winning the fight. It was. You need to go back and try to watch that fight.
He's from Ultimate Fight. Okay, that's why he just got out of Ultimate Fighter. No wonder I haven't watched that in a long time. So he's only got one fight since Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah.
No wonder I don't know who he is yet.
But because I don't watch Ultimate Fighter anymore either. Yeah. But I saw that UFC 222, and literally he was destroying the guy. But then it was like, hold on, dude, it doesn't look like he can stand up anymore, and he couldn't put any weight on that foot, and he ended up still winning the fight. It was a big show of heart because I want to say it was. I want to say it happened halfway through the second round of his 3-round fight. That I can't remember.
He looks lightweight to welter.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Go up. Hold on. Look on flyweight debut, return to bantamweight. So maybe bantamweight.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, maybe bantamweight. But he was very impressive to me. His striking was unbelievable. It was clean, crisp. It was dynamic too. It was different. It wasn't just the straight up square like you see a lot of people like Jones Reyes. You know what I mean? It was unorthodox. And not only that, but then he couldn't put weight on his foot. He was getting taken down. He was still managing to win the fight and won the fight. It was very impressive. Go back and watch his fight.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
I'll definitely check out his next one for sure.
Now, just on a random side note of MMA news, BJ Penn, since he has not been allowed to...
Did I read he got a DUI?
Yeah, so he might get a DUI. But let's just say the breakdown of BJ Penn, after those Frankie Edgar fights, everything just went to shit for him.
Yeah. And it wasn't immediately apparent after that, but it just never got better for him.
Never got better. And I think the UFC thought they were doing him a favor by saying you can't fight in the UFC anymore. You're doing damage to yourself. Yeah. And I think it actually had the opposite effect because I think he might be a bit of an adrenaline junkie.
Yeah.
And because before this DUI thing, he got in that fight in Hawaii.
Well, did you see where that guy knocked him? Is that what you're talking about? The guy just knocks him out.
Knocks him out. And then he ended up actually, they showed the clips in the wrong order. They first showed a clip of him ended up choking a guy out. Or actually on top of him in full mount or something like that. But then they came out the clip later of the guy knocking him out. Well, what actually happened was the guy knocked him out, but he was saying, hit me, what are you going to do, hit me? And the guy, he was leaving himself wide open.
He let the guy hit him.
Yeah, and the guy knocked him out for a second, then he got up, and then he ended up beating the guy.
Yeah.
But still, you're a UFC fighter, you shouldn't be putting yourself in those positions.
No, but you shouldn't. Also, you should...
ever let a guy
be skilled
just
enough that like no guy should ever be able to swing at you, and you know what I mean. You should have been able to duck that, dodge that, swipe it away.
Right. But I think the thing is he's an adrenaline junkie, and since they will no longer let him fight in the UFC, and he's not going to fight in another promotion, he's just doing crazy shit. Yeah. And then now he flipped his car and is possibly getting a DUI. And I think he was probably got drunk and he's like, I'm going to fucking run this car to 120.
Well, it's got to be tough. I mean, do you imagine being a fighter and like what is ever going to like reach that level of intensity for you? Like that, you know, me walking out, the fans, the lights, the fucking, and then you get in a fight at the after all that. Like,
well, and especially for him, he was literally. He was in the pinnacle of his career and then somehow ran into Frankie Edgar and he just could not beat Frankie Edgar. And then he tried to change up his style so much that he kept losing the rest of the fights. I can't remember who he was fighting, but there was one fight. It might have been a Diaz brother. He came out fighting like you see those pictures, like the Fighting Irish for Notre Dame, where you stand straight up, and you have your hands like this in front of you. He fought the whole fight like that and got the shit beat out of him. Of course. Yeah. Who told you that you needed to change your fight style like this? Yeah. Like you should be like not just hitting him with the back of your fist. You know what I mean?
I hit you with my shillelagh.
It's like he lost to Frankie Edgar and he's like, dude, we got to change everything. I don't care if it's a bad idea or a good idea. We got to change everything.
Yeah. But and it's like it's just become sad, you know. It's terrible.
It's become so sad. I'd rather him just go. Like honestly, I feel like he doesn't want to go anywhere but the UFC because
Bellator would love him.
Bellator, like, any promotion, Bellator, PFL, ONE. I don't think he should go to ONE. I think those guys are becoming dogs over there. Yeah. But PFL, Bellator. I think go over there, man, and have some fights. They'll put you up against whoever you want to go up against. You might
be able to get some fights in Bellator that you can win. You know, I don't know. I don't know if he could ever win another fight, man. He looks terrible.
He looks terrible. What happened? You were the prodigy, and until you ran to Frankie Edgar, you looked unbeatable. He was the first guy to actually win a belt in 2 different weight classes. They just wouldn't let you hold the title at the same time. So for him to go up and fight for the other title, they made him relinquish it beforehand. Yeah, right. But he was the first guy. He was the first champ.
Did he at one time fought Lyoto Machida at like light heavyweight or something? Yeah.
He was supposed to be the best to ever do it, and then Frankie Edgar just crushed his soul. Which I love Frankie Edgar, so good on that.
Yeah, Frankie, I mean, it's probably almost getting time to end it for him, too. But I think he's not... His won't be as sad a story either way, you know. It's...
No, it won't be. He's got a new... This is the sad part of the story. Is he's got a podcast now.
Yeah.
It's called The Champ and the Tramp.
Yeah.
It's him, and I don't know if you ever watched Jersey Shore.
So it's one of those cats that fucking...
It's not one of the guys that were actually in the show. One of the girls, her name was JWoww.
Yeah.
It's the person she has a baby with.
Roger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched one season of Jersey Shore.
Yeah. Every girl has made us one girl has made us watch at least one season of Jersey Shore.
My friends, like, they all lived in a house together for a while, and like we'd party over there, and like all the girls they'd watch Jersey Shore every night. So I ended up stuck watching it.
Well, and it sucks to say, like, I would never watch it on my own, but if I'm in those scenarios and it comes on, I'm entertained. I hate to say it, I'm entertained.
So Roger... It knows Frankie Edgar, like
well, because they're both from New Jersey.
Yeah, I mean, Edgar looks like one of those guys.
Yeah, Frankie Edgar's from Tom Rivers, New Jersey. Actually, the second BJ Penn fight, because he's from Tom Rivers, New Jersey. My dad's business rest in peace. My dad passed away a couple years ago, but his business is lapel pins, and there was these three younger guys from Tom Rivers, New Jersey, that all got pins made through him. So we're at the Little League World Series because that's like the big event for Little League pin traders, and my dad had the biggest hospitality room where everybody traded their pins at. And he was like, man, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to be able to watch this Frankie Edgar fight. That's my boy. And I was like, oh, you like Frankie Edgar? He's like, yeah, man, I like Frankie Edgar. I'm like, oh, I'm a big fan too. He's like, but I actually know Frankie Edgar. Like, he's a friend of mine. Yeah. And I was like, then why aren't you there? He was like, oh, because I'm a pin trader, and as much as we're tight, like, he can only take so many people there. Yeah. And I was like, all right, man. But he ended up buying a TV and finding... Your
dad did this?
No. The guy from Tom River, New Jersey. The guy from Tom River, New Jersey did this. He ended up buying a TV and finding somebody with a decent computer that was there, and he put it up at poolside, and they streamed the fights. Nice. And I didn't believe him that he was friends with Frankie Edgar. And then right before the fight started, a phone call, not before the main event. Yeah. Right before the fight started, he got a phone call, and it was Frankie Edgar. Nice. And I know for a fact it was Frankie Edgar. First it came up Frankie, and then he put me on the phone for a second, and it was fucking Frankie Edgar.
No shit.
Yeah, that's amazing. we watched the second BJ Penn fight poolside at that event. I'll never forget that.
My friends they were in Vegas, and they ran into Brandon Vera at a club. And
shit.
Brandon Vera is like my boy's sister for whatever reason. And he like put him up in the VIP at the club and like just paid for their drinks all night and shit.
That's
like,
fucking awesome.
They hung out with Brandon Vera all night. They don't even watch. They was like, we hung out with some UFC fighter guy.
So he fought. He's like,
a fighter. Yeah.
You're like, fuck you.
Yeah. Man. I was like, you fucking assholes. What happened to you? Like,
yeah, because he was great in the UFC, just never the top tier.
Yeah. And this was when he was. It's a pretty big deal, though. Like,
yeah. And he's still a big deal now. I think he's still the one champion.
I can't believe. Yeah, shit. He's old now. Like,
he's old. Yeah, now. But I think he's still the one champion. Well, he couldn't beat just that extreme top three.
He was number 5 and out.
Yeah. Man, that's a crazy story too.
Yeah.
The closest I have, and he's probably never going to talk to me again, is Charlie Brenneman has agreed to come on the podcast, but I have such a hard time trying to do it over Skype.
Yeah,
because I every time I listen to a podcast where somebody isn't in the studio and it's going over Skype, the sound quality turns me off so much that I end up really not listening.
Yeah, but having a guest like that, it's worth giving it a shot.
It totally is. What I want to do is do a test run on Skype beforehand so that I can try to figure out the best way to get the best quality.
Little kinks and stuff you can work out.
Yeah, just do it the best I can, because I don't want to do it and then something fuck up, because maybe the best podcast I've ever done was Thanksgiving Eve.
Yeah.
And it was me, Thad, who comes on the podcast all the time now. He's pretty much a co-host, and Tommy Haggerty and Justin Blanton. And, I mean, it went off the rails in the best way. But I didn't know that Audacity would only pick up 2 mics. So the program I was using would only pick up 2 mics. In our headphones, we could all hear each other, so I thought it was good.
Yeah.
Then when I went back to go edit it,
you're just talking to somebody and they're
right,
listening to silence for a while.
Right,
from the
like
guy.
So. Say me and you were on mic 1 and 2. As long as we weren't talking, then you could hear the guys on 3 and 4 because it was getting picked up by our mics. But their mics weren't being picked up at all. So I still have it on there because I'm like, maybe one day I'll figure out how to fix this.
Clean it up.
But I can't even think of a way that it would ever be possible to fix it because just only 2 mics were being picked up. That's why I now have 2 different programs. I think Audacity is easier and cleaner, even though it's free. And I paid for Reaper, but Reaper I have to make all these adjustments to make it sound decent. So anytime, I don't know how often you listen to the regular podcast, but anytime I have more than one person, I have to adjust all these different fucking settings to make it listenable.
I only listen to myself.
Yeah. It's how you get better.
It's an ego thing.
Yeah, well, I think one of the
only the ones I'm on. Those are the only ones I care about.
Well, and I think one of the better podcasts I ever did was with it's entitled Big Bird, and it was with AJ and Thad. And I talked to AJ because that one I've listened to probably 4 times now. Yeah. And AJ was like, I just don't want to hear myself. I'm like, dude, that's honestly how you get better. Yeah. It's why I listen to my own because that's how I get better.
I noticed myself last time saying to you a lot, and I was like, I don't need to confirm every fucking thing. You know what I mean?
I find that a lot. And then I'll try to not say it was yeah. Then I'll try to not say that, and the next thing you know, I'm saying okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, you gotta fill it with something, and you just it was better. Fuck it, I'm going back to yeah.
Right. Well, before we wrap this up, is there anything you wanted to hit up before after MMA?
After MMA, what do you mean, like other subjects?
Yeah, is there anything that you just had on your mind that maybe you wanted to bring up?
Oh, I don't know. Bernie Sanders, vote for him.
Vote for him. I can't lie. I am actually at this point. I said that I wasn't sure I would vote for Bernie Sanders, but I would say at this point, vote for Bernie Sanders.
Yeah. I don't know who else.
Well, and I think if like everybody voted for Trump because they said they wanted to change.
Yeah. He's Obama, with less eloquent. You know what I mean, false promises and
we honestly didn't get any of the change that he promised.
He promised not to cut Medicare and all this stuff, and he's just proposed to cut all that stuff. I'm like, I'm sorry, like I don't even hate him the way, like, you know what I mean, that we're supposed to hate him. Like I don't.
Right.
But it's just like he's no better to me than everything that's came before.
Yeah, and I will say he's done some better things with like the trade agreements and stuff like that. I thought he was crazy. I thought he was crazy for doing some of the things he did, and like especially with China. And
I think that worked out.
Ended up working out great. Yeah. It really did. Yeah. I was. So,
I mean, I don't just hate him for no reason. I don't just pay everything he does. I don't just hate on it for no reason.
But
there's things he does that worked out. But
if you really want to change, he really didn't bring that change. No. And if you do really want to change and try to mix things up, and as much as people say, "Oh, free Medicare, that's ridiculous," and whatever, we're the only major country that doesn't have it. I
believe that we're the richest country on earth and the only one that can't get it done.
The only one.
Makes no sense.
That's baffling. The only country that doesn't have free medical. That is baffling. At this point, I think I do say vote for him. I think he's had the same stances for his entire political career.
Even if it's not going to work, even if voting for him doesn't change anything, let's give it a shot. Like, let's see what happens.
If you're one of the people that voted for Trump because you just wanted to see a big change, well, this is actually the person to vote for to see a big change. Yeah. He's fucking $1 million, so who knows? He may die in office, but he is the person that is actually promoting things that are actually a big change. Yeah. If you do want to see a big change, that would be the way to go. Yeah. And I'm all for voting for the best candidate, Republican or Democrat. I don't lean too far either way for me to say you always vote Democrat or you always vote Republican.
I'm not a Trump hater. If it's not Bernie, I'm probably voting for Trump. So
either that or third party. That or third party.
Yeah.
But because at this point I would say there's a good chance regardless Trump wins. But I think Bernie's starting to really gain a lot of momentum, and I think that if you really want to see change, he's the one to go with.
Yeah. So, not to get too political or anything.
I don't give a fuck. I'll go political all day. Just because, to me, the biggest thing I always say is don't hate the other side.
Yeah,
the two sides are supposed to work together to make a better country.
Right.
So whoever the best candidate is where you should go. I don't know if Trump could go much further than he has gone. And the stuff with the impeachment, I think the Democrats were stupid. I also think Trump was stupid. I think everybody acted stupid in that entire scenario. Yeah. And I think if you want a real change, I think you go Bernie Sanders. And I think I would say that if Bernie Sanders is running as a Republican or Democrat.
Right.
I think that's the only way if you want a real change.
I vote for ideas, and I like his ideas.
Exactly. And I think people, if you think that Bernie Sanders' ideas are going to cost you more money, I encourage you to go listen to his episode on the Joe Rogan podcast, because there he has a long format to fully explain his ideas. His ideas for free education and free healthcare are not going to take more money out of your pocket.
I tell people that a lot. They're like, well, he's never said how he's going to accomplish this stuff. I'm like, literally, here's an hour-long video of how he plans to accomplish this stuff. He said it.
Right. He has broke it down very plainly. Yeah. And
if you don't agree, that's one thing. But
that's one thing.
This is what he said.
This is what he said. He's broke it down very clearly, and it has to do with making major corporations pay their corporate taxes, because right now our major
tax on Wall Street, every transaction, it's like fractions of a penny.
Every transaction. So for one of them, he's going to put a tax on Wall Street transactions, and every transaction is less. He couldn't remember the exact number, but what he knew for sure was it is less than half of a percent of each transaction. So
we're gonna miss that.
You would never even notice it, but so many transactions.
It's like Superman 3.
Yeah. But so many transactions happen that adds up so fast. Yeah. And then the other one was there are major corporations that are U.S. based, like Amazon.
Yeah.
So Amazon pays zero in U.S. corporate taxes.
Yeah.
So they actually pay more in corporate taxes in foreign countries. They paid $5 billion in corporate taxes in foreign countries where they are not, which is not their home base.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Yeah. So essentially, they have invested more in the infrastructure of foreign countries than they have in the infrastructure of the United States.
I did see something where it was like Amazon. I don't know if it's true or not. Is like the largest. Because of they deliver stuff. They deliver more stuff for like small and medium sized businesses than anybody else, and it's like that's a good thing.
That is a good thing.
They in the long run are probably helping build smaller businesses in that way, but it doesn't mean you don't get to pay your fucking taxes.
Yeah, I'm not saying Amazon is a terrible company. I don't think that at all. I love Amazon, but I'm saying if you're home based in
you're using
the United
our infrastructure.
States, you should be helping with that infrastructure. Yeah. And the crazy thing is the tax loophole that gets them away from being having to pay corporate taxes is literally just reinvesting in their own company.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Since you put money into your own company, you don't have to pay corporate tax.
Yeah.
That's insane. That doesn't make any fucking sense to me. So those are his ideas. And if you do that with every major company in the United States, then you know what? There's a lot of money to be had. There's a lot
to use. And then if you legalize pot like he wants to, there's so much money there. They're giving it back.
So much money. And now we actually, because California did it poorly. Their infrastructure for the marijuana was poorly done, and it's become a shit show. But now you have Colorado who's done it right. So you can follow Colorado's model and then do it correctly. And I agree with you, again, a lot of tax money.
Yeah.
Think you're getting a lot of tax money from tobacco companies? Come on now.
Yeah, we can afford it, guys. It's not. It's not.
Yeah. Well, and
we're not that broke, yo.
And he's really not talking about taxing the everyday citizen like that. He's really not.
No.
And I can tell you that all of us can afford less money, because I just gave up my salary job and went back to just bartending.
Yeah.
And I was very nervous about it, because am I going to be able to afford my car payment? Am I going to be able to do this? All I know is I can't deal with this stress anymore. Yeah. And I did it, and it looks like it's going to be just fine.
Yeah.
I just
spend a little bit less money at the gas station.
Not even the gas station. Spend a little less money at the bar.
Well, that's what I mean. Stop buying candy bars every time. Yeah.
Right.
Stop.
Right. Stop going to McDonald's every fucking day. You know what I mean? But that's not even his plan. So.
No.
All right. Well, you think we wrap up with that?
Yeah, whatever.
All right. Well, we don't know what the name of the MMA podcast is going to be so far, but this is The Gathering of Fools. We're out.